Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Uniquely You with Yana. And today we have a very lovely guest, Anita Toy. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Yana. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm loving your background. It's
Thank
very
you.
beautiful.
Yes, it's a photo of a national park somewhere. Cannot remember where, but at the time I thought it was beautiful. I'm glad I captured it.
Yes, it
Thank you
is.
so much for coming on. It's been a bit of a journey to get us here, but we got here. So thanks for your persistence and determination.
You're welcome. We've just had a few little tech hurdles, but we're
Yeah.
here.
I had a conversation with someone the other day and they were saying that apparently high vibrational souls have technical issues. So I'm taking it as a compliment.
That's really funny. I mean, I've I've experienced, that thing where you're going to walk through electronic doors and they're opening for everyone else and then you're standing there and they're not opening. You've got to like back up and go again. And yeah, it's such an awkward thing, but yeah, maybe there's something to it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so I'm just going to take it as a compliment. So can we start by learning a little bit about you? Would you like to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I never know. This question's so open and broad. Is there somewhere you'd like me to start?
Yeah, I'd love to know more about being a mystic and an elder. So can you describe to us what those terms mean to you? Because I don't really
Meant.
know much about either of those roles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were chatting a little bit just before we hit record. The word you were asking if elder meant in relation to any culture in particular and, any Indigenous culture, and it doesn't for me. It's literally just this phase of my life where I'm beginning, at the very beginning, I might say, to step into a whole new phase, and you might call it eldership, you might call it the crone phase, a wise woman. In human design, I have line 6 in my profile, which also refers to this stage where it's really like a coming into, it's like a late blooming, coming into like a role model phase of life. And so, yeah, I've just clocked over 50 this year, and I feel like things have shifted. I've been through my Chiron return too astrologically, and um, I think it just tilts the focus a little bit into more of a sense of what am I really here for? Like stepping into purpose is so, so important now. And what can I contribute? What can I give back? And I feel like I'm just at the beginning of that really, but um, it feels like a beautiful beginning to this new phase for me.
Awesome. So what type of things are you offering in order to add value and give back?
I think the main thing I'm trying to do is be as me as possible, as uniquely myself. Because I've learned, particularly with my studies in human design, astrology, but also just metaphysics in general, that really that is the greatest gift that we can give to others and to the world is to begin to know ourselves deeply, to strip away anything that's not really us. And I'm talking about conditioning that comes from childhood, that comes from social, cultural programming, education. We know now, many of us are aware now that we have to undo much of what we've learned, what we've been told, and really um, consider everything, put everything on the table and think about, is this right for me? Does this still fit? Does it feel like truth to me? Um, and do this in a very embodied way if possible, really tapping into our body and our nervous system and our intuition that lives within the body, and to start, I guess, running through all of these old programs through a new filter of truth. Um,
I
Sorry, I've
found,
lost the question.
oh, that's okay. No, that was great. I was just asking about your work, I suppose, and
Yeah.
how you help people. So you kind of described that. So helping them to learn more about themselves, which is what this podcast is all about. So that's great. Um,
Yeah, I think, and just to add to that, I mean, where I've landed really with that is helping people discover their own power. So discover themselves, but discover their own power and connection to the light within and to the divine, and be able to um, tap into their resources and then radiate that out in the world in a way that's uniquely them. So we've all come here with a different soul blueprint, with different gifts and strengths and talents. And there's so many ways you can go about this, finding out what they are. Um, and I love sort of typing modalities. So I've played with Myers-Briggs psychological testing and Enneagram, and human design and astrology particularly appeal because it's not it's not a questionnaire that you could potentially answer differently at various times in your life. It's literally locked in with your birth data, and that's your design for life. So I like the stability in that. So yeah, we're all here to be unique and different and tap into the fact that we're powerful creators. And there's many people on earth who aren't really using that aspect at the moment, but wouldn't
yeah.
it be amazing if more of us were?
Yeah, and depending on what your beliefs are, I mean, whether you believe in a creator or whether you believe in other, I think we definitely have been deceived and we are more powerful than we realize. And I suppose it's time for all of us to remember that we're, if you want to look at it from the God perspective, we're all made in God's image and He is a creator, so therefore we must also be creators. Um, and yeah, it's all about discovering how powerful we really are, I think. And
Yeah,
coming
I
back
love
to
how
that.
you describe that. That is what it is. And there are all sorts of organized, dogmatic ways of thinking that put a third party, an intermediary in between us and that God essence, that creator essence. And from my point of view, it's unnecessary, but each to their own, you know. Um, yeah, it is really important that we realize that we do have this innate direct connection to source, God, universe, nature, whatever you like to call it. Um, and that we all have the ability to tap into that power, and it's within us.
One of the challenges I've had in the last probably several years is discernment and figuring out what is of the divine creator and what is not, because it's very easy to get misled. Um, so also part of that, I suppose, is where you put your focus. So some good books I've read that remind me of that are Let Them by Mel Robbins and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mike Manson.
Mike Manson, yeah.
Yeah. So they've been really good examples of, just concentrating on what you can control, what you can change. Um, that whole saying, if you can't change what happens, but you can change the way you respond to it, all those types of things. So what would your tips be for having better discernment and not getting distracted and, staying focused on what your purpose and your path is?
Yeah, this is such a beautiful question, and it's a really massive theme at the moment because we're in this world where there is so much crap out there. There's so many distractions.
And AI.
Oh, yeah. How fast is AI moving, right? It is even just this year, as someone who's on, Instagram as a platform, I was looking at it the other day thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much AI on here and it is getting hard to tell. And the prediction has been that it'll get even harder. Um, so I think that discernment is key to us being able to stay grounded and in our bodies and in the natural world and in control of our emotions and our nervous system response and all of that at the moment. Um, and so I would say time offline is very important for this grounding, being in environments like we see behind you, Yana. For me, it's the ocean. I've got my wet hair because I've been out for a surf this morning, feet on the sand and then like immersed in the ocean.
I love the ocean. I'm
Yeah.
so disappointed we have this algal bloom in South Australia at the moment. It's just
Oh, do
not
you?
safe to go to the beach. Dogs and people are getting sick. The
Oh,
SA government will tell you that it's fine and you can still eat seafood and you can still swim. Not keen though, because all the anecdotal evidence I've seen has been you get quite sick
oh
for a few
yeah.
days. So
Yeah, it
avoiding the
doesn't
beach
sound
at the
good.
moment.
When I was in New Zealand, we would have periodic blooms as well
Oh
that,
wow.
yeah, weren't particularly nice to be in. So yeah, I was very lucky this morning. We had beautiful, clean water and sunrise. And so yeah, being in natural environments as often as possible. I know that if you're living in the middle of a city, this is more difficult, but there are parks, right? So get out into the parks, go and put your hands on a tree. If you've got a balcony, like pot plants, grow some herbs, grow some tomatoes, like whatever it is. But just having that connection to nature is absolutely so important right now. I just can't overstate it. And then for me, I think there's so many parts to this discernment. One of them would be linked to human design, and that is knowing your authority in human design, which is the way that you're designed to make decisions, is really, really helpful. So there are several different types, but knowing your design and how I mean, decision making is discernment, or it's a part of it. And so that's really helpful for me to know, for example, that I have emotional decision making. So if there's something I'm not sure about and it's feeling a bit murky or confusing, I know that I need to sit with that over some time in order to reach a place of clarity. For other people, if you have sacral authority, it might be a in the moment gut response for you. Like, yes, that's good for me to move towards. No, that is not. And I get a bit of FOMO around that one because I would absolutely love that, like snappy in the moment gut hit. Um,
I
but we
have
all, sorry, go ahead.
I have a feeling that my partner may be more emotional and I'm definitely sacral. So
Yeah.
I know straight away whether something is right for me or not. And I'm the opposite. I feel it's more difficult to explain to someone your gut instinct than it is, oh, well, I've weighed it up and I've thought about both sides and I've considered it and I've mulled it over. And th
Yeah.
that sounds more reasonable to a lot of people because it feels like you've given it consideration. And my partner is very much that way. So I have to present an idea a week and a half in advance, let him sit on it, and then he'll decide on the day whether he wants to do it or not. Whereas you literally just have to catch me in the moment and I'll say, yep, no worries, let's do it, let's go. I'll jump
Yeah,
in with
thank you
both
for
feet.
sharing that because that is it's a really good point. And there's a little bit of a subtle thing I want to pick up on in there. I think the reason that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason you're saying that it sounds more reasonable because reason and rationality come from the head, right? And so we've been programmed to believe that decisions must be made from our heads with reason and logic. And so I think that when you're talking about emotional decision making need time, the true meaning of that is that we're tapping into our emotions, how we feel about something, and there is no reason and logic. It doesn't matter, it doesn't apply. What we're doing is we're feeling out an emotional mechanical wave in the body, and we're tapping into whether something feels right for us or doesn't feel right for us over time. However, from the outside, exactly what you're saying. That can look like you've weighed up the pros and cons in your head and made
Ah,
a rational, logical decision. It's actually not about that at all. But
it's figuring out how you
because
feel
we
about
have,
it.
yeah, because we have this programming that that's the way we should be making decisions, I see what you're saying,
Yeah,
where
it
it,
makes it
whereas
difficult when you're saying to someone, I don't know why, I just don't. You
exactly
know?
right. And so that is, it's so interesting actually. And I'm glad we're talking about this because the reality is very different to how it might look from the outside. And so a sacral decision maker could potentially look impulsive and like you haven't given it consideration exactly as you said, and that time to figure it out. And so, oh, there can be so much conditioning to do with any of these authorities. But if you can get into a place where you really ground into that and trust that your body knows in the moment and, really follow that clearly, that, yeah, that's where your discernment lies for sure. And one of my best friends is sacral and yeah, she's I watch her making decisions, particularly on people, like when she first meets people, it's like it can sound really harsh. It's like, yep, love them, absolutely not. Like just they're not my person. And then she sort of second judges herself a little bit and oh, maybe I'm being a bit too hard, maybe I'll just wait and see. But she ends up being right most of the time. Um, but yes, there's conditioning that happens on either side. So it's really learning about what's right for you and how you personally discern and then sticking with that and also learning that others are different. This is a really important part of it as well.
So understanding your human design can help you to make better decisions, which can help with your discernment.
100%. Thank you. You've just summed up my Mercury in Pisces tangent. Yes.
So one of the other tools that you like to use in your work and your offerings is astrology.
Yeah, so I'm not an astrologer. I haven't gone as deep as I have with human design in the study of it, but I am a student of astrology. And so what I like to do now is to kind of cross-check and look at astrological natal charts as well as human design because they're completely entwined. They work together and they can offer slightly different aspects as well. So I find it gives me a bit more of a holistic view when I'm looking essentially at someone's soul blueprint, like what they've come in, who they've come in here to be. Not necessarily what they're here to do, because we all have free will, right? So we get given this kind of design, if you like. And then what we do with that, how we choose to express ourselves in the world is open and endless. And you can do whatever you like with that. And that's pretty exciting to me too.
Yeah. Also, I feel that understanding your human design gives you permission to be more of you unapologetically as well. Like, for example, I've always assumed that I'm a little bit vague or perhaps my memory is not so great, but finding out that my the top of my human design chart is open means that I'm actually not built to retain information. Which is why I find study so difficult because study and education is all about retaining information and regurgitating it in the way that they want to see it presented. So,
That rote learning.
yeah, I
Yeah.
always struggle with that. So that would actually explain a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean, I think we have the same, the open head and Ajna. So yeah, and the it is a gift learning that we don't, we're not designed to like hold on to and file away every data, name, fact, historical event, whatever that comes our way and keep hold of that. Some people do have those kinds of brains and minds and are really brilliant, those people who just pull out some like random fact or chronological year and event. um, I thought for a long time something was wrong with me as well until I learned this information. And it's like, no, it's open. It's meant to information comes and it goes and it flows through. And anything that's super important, we're able to grasp hold of and really root down and then perhaps go further with it. But yeah, we're not designed to like remember everything. And there's other aspects in your design too that might speak to a more abstract style of learning, for example, rather than what's taught at mainstream school, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, the last podcast I did was with real-time heart-based, and I was reflecting how I'd learnt a lot of the concepts and principles that they present in their course before, but it never really resonated with me until I learnt it from them. It was just something about the way they presented it and the information that they provided. It really finally sunk in, and made
Yeah.
sense to me. So it's interesting how you often can hear the same thing several times, but until you hear it in the way that's right for you, you can't really absorb it properly.
Well, that's
Um,
such an important point, and it's also really important for anyone who's a creator like you and I, who's putting information into the world and content, and just to remember that it doesn't matter if things have been said 1,000 times before by other people. The way in which you are doing this podcast, for example, Yana, is going to appeal to the right people who need to hear it from you. They need to have your essence through this information, through this content, if you like. And so we all need to keep creating, keep speaking, keep putting stuff out there into the world because yeah, there's someone who needs to hear it.
Yeah. I also received that inspiration from Narita McInnes. I've been listening to her podcast for a few years, and she said the exact same thing a few weeks ago.
Oh, right.
Yes, everyone's
Yeah.
doing a podcast. Yes, anyone can be on YouTube, but it's the way that you present things and it's your particular, way or message that might connect with someone. So
100%. Yeah. And I haven't met Nerita, but I love her work too. And um, she and I, yeah, we do some similar things. We've probably had some similar guests on our podcast too, but we're very different in the way that we present. So yeah, it's what it's all about, isn't it? As long as you're not like directly copying another person, because
but then you wouldn't be
obviously.
creating. You'd just be
Exactly. And then
copying.
yeah, and I found, that actually has happened to me in the past, and it doesn't last for the person who's copying because it takes a lot more energy to copy another person or be inauthentic and to like put a mask on than it does to just truly be yourself. And so a lot of
Absolutely.
people, yeah, they're not able to keep up that sort of energy that's required and it falls away. So,
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
that's why I've been so exhausted the last 10 years because I've been tr doing things that I think other people expect of me rather than just being me. It's
Well,
so
yeah,
tiring
it
not
is,
being
isn't
fully
it?
you.
No, well, yeah, I mean, that's like a mic drop right there. We could, that could be the title of the podcast. Like yeah, it's really important that we maintain our authenticity or we find our authenticity because um, that has to happen before we maintain it. And also by maintaining, I also want to say evolve. Like we're allowed to completely evolve as humans and as expressions of our divine source. Like we don't have to stay the same throughout our lives. I don't know anyone that's done that. So yeah. Um, but being us definitely is where it's at, where the joy is, where the energy is. And you're right, it's a real struggle to be someone else or to be a version of what you think you should be. Yeah.
So, speaking of helping people to be more of themselves, you've mentioned on a previous podcast with another host that you had helped support people during COVID.
Oh yeah. So I was one of those people who early on kind of had the very strong intuition that something wasn't right. And I thought it was all a joke at first, and then I realized that no, they were serious. They were going to roll us out, and we're in trouble. So I sat with it and observed it for a while. And then something in me just, the fire was lit and I had to start speaking my truth. I was very new in a small town in New Zealand at that time. So I didn't really have many friends there at all. And I thought, holy shit, I'm going to have to make some friends really quick and I'm going to have to wake them up really quick. Um, so I did. So I
Wow.
cultivated some beautiful close friendships, people who will never leave my life now because of, what we went through in that time. And I started speaking to them about what I saw was happening, and they got on board pretty quick, which was fantastic. We ended up forming like a group. We called it a whānau group, which means family in Māori, but we had several families kind of come together and we'd do potluck dinners together all through the lockdowns and when we was not supposed to be meeting up and all that stuff. And we really had each other's backs. It was an absolutely magical time. And so not only did I have that sort of in my community, but there was a few other things I did, which was to rally the other health and wellness practitioners in the local community who I knew were sort of on the page, if you like, and to form a group to support one another because that was obviously a really difficult time for the health practice, and a lot of them got huge amounts of pressure to um, wear masks and get jabs and do certain protocols and things that they really didn't want to do. So, yeah, we would gather and discuss what was going on and what kind of pressures they were going through, how to handle it with difficult clients. And patients. Yeah, it was challenging because there were some of us who could, I mean, myself, I could just work online, so it wasn't a problem. Some people who worked in person only had specific challenges, and one of the members in our group actually got hauled up in front of his association and with the threat of losing his registration and license. So yeah, it was a really intense time. So I felt like that was a beautiful thing to do to really support our health practitioners at that time. And then I also
So
had a,
were you working as a health practitioner at the time in
um,
herbalism or naturopathy or?
so I'd left, I used to be a naturopath, herbalist, nutritionist. I did some body work, craniosacral therapy and massage as well. And then I had at that point transitioned to online working as a coach. So I was doing coaching and some energetic healing. So for me, I'd left my in-person work and my studio, my clinic behind. So yeah, it was quite good timing, I guess,
Yeah, so you
from
weren't
my,
personally affected because you were already online, but you
yeah.
knew where to find other health practitioners because you had previously been in that, I guess, network or
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that they were going to have a lot of specific challenges. And there was also a sense that I guess, and this is a line 4 in my human design profile, I'm a connector. And so I love to connect like-minded people. I love to refer. Um, yeah. So it felt natural to me to like want to help the community in a way that I could connect us all together and make sure we had like a solid supportive group. The other thing that I did was start an online Telegram group that was just a free support group for people on the page and making proactive choices about their health freedom during that time. So that grew to about 150. It started with just 3 of us as friends, and then it just grew to like 150 people. And I ran that for a year for free, was on it like multiple hours a day posting stuff, trying to keep it very positive and upbeat, not I was really conscious to keep the doom and gloom and the fear
Yeah.
at low levels. Like it and that was hard. It was like a balance of letting talking about what's actually going on, which was terrible. But really trying to stay above the fear of it and
Yeah.
change the vibration and give people hope and support. So yeah, it ended up being a lot of work, but it was beautiful, and I'm really glad that I was able to offer that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wish I'd discovered it at that time. I really could have used a community of like-minded people and a bit more support, but
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do feel like, I mean, I received a few messages afterwards just saying how important it was for people, and it really helped them. I also ran an underground kind of newsletter during that time too. So I would put
Wow.
out a newsletter every week, and talk about what was going on and give lots of links and resources to so that people could do their own research. Like I was never into telling people what to do or what choice they should make. That's like entirely for people to decide for themselves. But knowing that we were bombarded with only one side of the story, I found it really important to offer lots of other resources and referrals that people could go to for their own research to make their own choices.
Alternatives, because we were made to
Yeah,
feel at that time that there wasn't any alternatives, and
exactly.
you needed to go along with the majority, and you needed to do what you were told or asked to do. And a lot of people just accepted that, like, oh, okay, well, this is what we do. They didn't think, oh, hang
Yeah.
on, I don't actually have to do that. I can choose to do something else.
That's right. Yeah, it's exactly right. And of course, we know how much censoring was going on. And so it was actually quite difficult to get alternative information at that
Yeah.
time. And
I I was studying at the time and I did a university assignment on the alternative media. And we had to design a website. So instead of presenting all the news, I presented all the alternative. I didn't get a very good mark for it. Um, but basically just to show that, well, did you know there's all this other information out there
yeah,
about the same topic? Um,
perfect. Yeah, so important because I mean, there's a lot of people I've spoken to who weren't even aware of the levels of censorship that were happening. I mean, my account was constantly shadow banned whenever I tried to put something up or follow someone, particular big influencer. And we saw that the really big names, the big influencers, constantly had accounts shut down and they had backups to their backups to
yeah.
their backups. Like it
But
was
also
literally
just
crazy.
small thing. Well, you'd think inconsequential things. Like, for example, I had friends in living in Melbourne at the time, and they went to quite a few protests because they would lock down and it was terrible for them.
Yeah.
And they would send me, like, personally send me videos via Messenger or Instagram or whatever of thousands of people attending these protests. And the news that night would say, oh, a few
Three
hundred,
people were, yeah.
like 300 people. And it was like, I've got the video and I can tell
Yeah.
you it was thousands, not hundreds, just small things like that where things were being misrepresented without people realizing.
Oh,
So
100%. Yeah. And
yeah,
in
so
New
people were made
Zealand,
to think it was a minority, but actually it was a majority that were against what the government was doing. So yeah, it's interesting to see the different perspective, but you don't get
that's
the other perspective. You just
no,
get
and
one. So
such a great point of how the media skewed everything. In New Zealand, we had a really big protest that ended up in Wellington, but it was a convoy and it was based off what the Canadian truckers did. Hardly anyone outside of New Zealand even knows this, but there was a massive convoy that started at either end of the island, tip of the North Island, bottom of the South Island, and they met. The aim was to meet in Wellington. However, the ones from the south actually got stopped and cut off because there's a
oh
body
wow.
of water that needs to be crossed, and yeah, it was not great. But nevertheless, a lot of people got to Wellington. I don't know the numbers, but it was huge. And they camped for 3 weeks, and it was this incredible village, Freedom Village, basically on the lawns of Parliament. And I know so many people that went, and they said the vibe was incredible. So much love, so much acceptance and tolerance. People from all walks of life, there were like everyone was represented. Every group of person living in New Zealand was represented, and people were working together, and it was completely harmonious and beautiful. And the shit they copped. I mean, there were energy weapons that were on full display being used, frequency weapons. They were playing Baby Shark, that terrible.
Oh,
So
that is torture.
this is literally sound torture. So they were playing that at full, full, full volume day and night. They turned the sprinklers on all these people. Like the things that were going on were just shocking. And then eventually, unfortunately, the camp was infiltrated by Antifa, who then set fire to things and
Oh, geez, that's
disrupted,
terrible.
and the police came in and broke it all up. But um, but yeah, this thing went on for weeks, and it was the most incredible, from all real person accounts, an absolutely incredible experience that my friends who went won't forget. And yet the representation in the media was, yes, dumbing it down to a small percentage, and they called them a river of filth,
Wow.
the great unwashed, they were saying. And it was just, yeah,
Yeah, interesting. So it was an important time to be able to present an alternative perspective and let people know that there's
absolutely.
actually more information out there than we're aware of through the main channels, I suppose.
Absolutely. And that continues today, of course, too.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
I like to ask everybody this question. What do you think makes you uniquely you?
Wow. That's kind of a difficult question to answer.
Well, you could refer to your astrological or human design characteristics, or perhaps it sounds like from what you've discussed on this podcast that you're quite good at connecting people.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes me, at a big picture level, what makes me uniquely me is this combination of my soul's blueprint, who I came in to be from the perspective of, yes, my human design and my astrology and all of that stuff. So that's literally about me as a soul coming into a human body to have this experience on earth at a very specific time, place, date. And the planets were doing certain things, right? Infusing my energy with certain attributes. So there's that at the big picture level. Then there's, conditioning and childhood, and the nature nurture combination, and the programming that I received, and the traumas that I've been through, and how I've chosen to work with those and learn from those. It's about the people that I come into contact with. I mean, there's just no way I could not be uniquely me in a way, because all of these things throughout my life have informed who I am today.
True, true. So
Yeah.
maybe we all need to not try so hard and just be.
I like that. I mean, yeah, it kind of can be that simple. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you do have a website that people can check out if they would like to see more about your work.
Yes, so my website is called spirituallygrounded.love, and I have the same handle on Instagram. I have a Substack called Spiritually Grounded and a podcast called Spiritually Grounded. Yeah, and that name was really born from this connection I have as, oh, you're going to share it, cool. As someone who has always been very grounded, I grew up in a natural environment, and maintain that connection to nature. But also, I'm a Piscean. I have like a lot of watery aspects in my chart, and I'm very connected to the mystical realm as well. I love metaphysics, and I study different forms of spiritual coaching and energetic healing work as well. So, yeah, it's that heaven to earth connection for me that I'm all about.
I like the grounded part.
Yeah.
Something that had deterred me from learning more about myself or my place in the world was that in the past, a lot of, I guess, spiritual topics that I came across were a little bit too woo-woo for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there in the spiritual realms who are a little bit woo as well. I
So
mean, yeah, I
I
had
like
an
the fact
inner
that it's
woo.
grounded. You can be
I do.
spiritual and grounded at the same time.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm here to show people, is that you can totally be tapped into the spiritual, but have your feet firmly on the earth, and not have to, wear all the feathers and beads and dangly things, and, or, be a certain way or look a certain way. It's just not about that. Spirituality is something that's deep within. And so, but we also live in a physical world that there is the 3D, we're not all like magically levitating and floating up to 5D. We need to navigate all of these dimensions, and yeah, keep it real.
Yeah, I suppose we're in the world, but not of the world. We still have to live here and deal with the physicalness, but we are
Yeah,
spiritual, beings in a physical
100%.
body. So
Yeah, and
yeah, that's
it's
part of it
about
too.
integrating both for me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
No, but thank you for this invitation. It's been a really beautiful chat, and I guess I would welcome any listeners who want to find out more about what I do and how I work with people in the coaching sense. And I mean, some of my work now, I do teach people about their human design and astrological blueprint, but I'm also really helping them to tap into themselves as creator beings, and to create something that's really dear and special to your own heart. And then my unblocking work in that process is fun and wild. And we do some past life regression, some ancestral healing. Like it really goes deep, and yeah, it's profound, really interesting work too. So yeah.
So, over the years, having worked as a health practitioner and now working as a coach, you've discovered that a great way to help people is to have a three-step process. So, you've got getting clear on what you want to do in life or what you'd like to achieve or what you'd like to create, and then getting aligned with your purpose and your heart, and then helping people to unblock any things that might be in their way.
That's right. That's currently how I'm working, and there's no set package or big price tag or time that anyone has to do this in. I've just made it as absolutely simple as possible so people can just book a session at a time, and we can work through that process in a linear fashion or not. You can bounce around a little bit too. But yeah, it's really about stripping away all that stuff that's not you and getting back to, what's truly on your heart and what you'd like to create in the world. And I guess me helping guide you through a process that sets you up for success.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today, Anita. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Yana.